Dan, this is a little bit more than hockey. So, on Tuesday, we met with the business community in particular and talked about, how they can benefit considerably from the Memorial Cup from an economic standpoint. But one of the reasons that we did this next segment was to talk about those in our community who we can do something for. Now, I know that sounds pretty unique when you consider that we're talking about a sports tournament in particular, but the Memorial Cup will bring in anywhere from $25 to $30 million in revenue. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for our for-profit companies to reap and take benefit of. But again, and I just told Ken LaCourle this, is, when I signed on to do this and literally parked my own business to do this at the request of Craig Goslin and Dick Garber, one of the things I made abundantly clear was if this was just about hockey, I didn't want to do it because that's an easy fix. Put it on the website, buy tickets, and we all can go home, and that's it. But on the other hand, if this was going to be not just transactional but transformative, because I can't believe for the life of me how you can bring up to $25 to $30 million in a community over a 10-day period of time and look exactly like you did prior to $25 or $30 million. I think that would be a travesty on all of us who are participants, partners, corporate people, engagers. That would be a travesty, and I would think the Memorial Cup, despite who wins it, would be an utter disaster for us as a region. And I use the word region because it is a regional event. When we bid for the Memorial Cup, we understood that we could not do it on the basis of a city or even a county for that matter, because we don't have the resources to do it. And if you looked at, and you can't, but trust me when I say this, when you look at the communities who bid against us, and Tim knows about that more than anybody, they, on a collective community basis, had way more in terms of assets and value than we did until we did one thing that pushed us over the hump. And that one thing, we created one zip code, something that we don't do. Even though we suggest that we're regional, we don't act as regional as we should. But when we bid this out, we had one zip code, and that one zip code was the Great Lakes Bay region. So it had the jewels of Midland, and it had the uptown experience of Bay City. It had the cultural events of Saginaw, and it had this set aside, this walkathon, if you will, and Frankenmuth, where we could house teams. Then the opportunity was for us to, at that point, collectively put all this stuff together. And the Memorial Cup for the Canadians, just so you understand, there will be thousands and thousands of Canadians coming over here, and that's one thing. We will entertain them, and they will go back. But for me, the opportunity was exposure, which is why you're here. And I'm talking about exposure with the people who actually stay here. So I'm not talking like I did on Tuesday about how we get the Canadians to spend money, and I'm talking about people from Midland and Bay, and even in our own communities, quite frankly, who will now see a transformation in what we do through the Memorial Cup. The people at Stars are going, I'm not going to steal their thunder, because one of the things they're doing, they've always been a jewel. Now, when you look at what they're doing as a result of the Memorial Cup, they're changing the dynamics of how we transport each other. And more importantly, that's done to benefit you, in particular the nonprofit world, and the people that you have as constituents. Let's face it, we have an underserved community here, and we call them Alice population or poor population or the working poor, whatever we do. There are lots of people who cannot economically challenge, support, or even participate in the Memorial Cup if we just sold tickets. Let me stop there. If we just sold tickets. It's not what we're going to do. We've appealed to the corporates in the region to help the nonprofits participate. There are a number of things moving, and all of those things are moving pieces right now, but I can assure you that even now, the response from corporate regional businesses have been outstanding, where they're actually going to support nonprofits. How do you get your constituencies into the Dow Event Center? My personal challenge, quite frankly, is I took a snapshot of our fan base. And this is where reciprocity really matters to me. Who gets something out of this? And in my particular case, I thought everybody got something out of this. When I took a snapshot of what we look like in 2023, this past September 30th. My idea was, okay, so let's go back to September 30th on 2024. Let's look forward and take another snapshot. Do we look exactly the same way? I mean, is the color still the same? Is the gender mix still the same? Or is this an opportunity for the Saginaw Spirit to expand its base? Does it create opportunities for urban youth to learn how to skate, to see a hockey? I'm telling you, you get young kids in that hockey arena, and they are just, I mean, they attract to it like you would not believe. That's access. We have to provide access. Transportation, they'll talk about. All of these things are coming to bear. So what do we want from the nonprofits in particular? What do you do? What do you do? Will you make yourself accessible? Will you make yourself present? Because we can't tell your story better than you can. Let's face it. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, like I said, we have programs that we're going to design, in particular, to have youth come in. People of color, people of economic strain, if you will. Whatever that demographic is, we will make sure that they have access to the Memorial Cup. We have a fan fest every day, 10 days, every day at the Jolt Memorial Park. We're going to turn that into a campus environment, everything around there, and it's free. It is free. There's no cost. So we'll have food trucks, we'll have playlands and playscapes and what we call ball hockey. And ball hockey is an opportunity for those kids who can't skate to just use tennis shoes and play hockey. So they get that feel of it right there. We have girl skills that are going to be happening, getting young girls involved. And you'd be surprised how many girls play hockey, not just in Canada, but around this country. So it's not really about hockey more so than it is creating a cultural dynamic here in our region. Things that people can't see, never thought possible, well, we will make possible. And that's where the beauty of this really comes in. So everybody who's here tonight will give you an idea about where your opportunities are. Ours is simple. You have to communicate to us, and Tim will talk a little bit about this too, about how you do that. What do you do? How do you do it? Where do you do it? Here's another thing I want you to consider too, volunteerism. I was at, and it's funny, this program, I don't know if you know about the, excuse me, Adopted Grandparent Program. I didn't even know about that program. I mean, you think you learn it, you've been around here forever. So I went down and talked to the Adopted Grandparent Program, and they got these red shirts. They're gonna have probably 50 grandparents in these red shirts volunteering at the Jolt Memorial Park. Talk about access. Talk about presence. I don't know how many people could say no when people start talking about funding opportunities, because don't forget this. These corporate folks, they're going to be there. These are the people, and this is where the blend of for-profit and nonprofit gets married. The people who support nonprofits are corporate sponsors. They will be there, lock, stock, and barrel, these givers, if you will, and so will you. So you can imagine these 50 grandmothers running around with these red shirts, just having the opportunity to talk to corporate people and say, this is what we do. We're a jewel in this community. And when they start looking for funding opportunities, nobody has to say, who are you again? What do you do again? That's really the challenge for you. I know who most of you are, but I don't know who all of you are. And more importantly, I don't know everything you do. We have websites being developed to allow for events. Start thinking about this 10-day period of time. Is there an opportunity to bring people out to see you, to see what you do? Tons of opportunities. So I'm going to turn it over a little bit right here. So I'm going to let Cassie go. I think that's what we're going to do. Talk about her piece of this, and I'll be back up to answer questions.
So hello, everybody. My name is Cassie Zimmerman. I am the Director of Planning and Economic Development for the City of Saginaw. And as Jimmy said, this is more than just a one-time event. We hope for this to be transformational as well. Ever since the location was announced that this was going to be in Saginaw, the city immediately stepped up and said, what are things that we can do? How can we help to make so that we are transforming our community through this event? So I'm going to go over a couple of different projects. A lot of ideas are in Saginaw. A lot of people who have ideas, who have plans, who want to do things, we often have plans that kind of sit on the shelf because for one reason or another, it just didn't make it to fruition. Well, fortunately, the Memorial Cup brought a lot of funds into our community and a lot of focus on our riverfront area particularly, but all of our corridors in the city, to see how we can put on our best face and really make so that we are going to have the spotlight on Saginaw, more than the national spotlight, more than our continental spotlight. I mean, this is a time for Saginaw to really shine and show that we can hold these types of events. And there's things to do here. We have a great community, we have a lot to do, and we have a beautiful community for people to enjoy. One of the first projects was a partnership with the Visitors and Convention Bureau, which is Go Great Lakes, which we have over here represented with Tim. This is something that was brought up pre-COVID, and I'm not sure that COVID necessarily was the downfall of this project, but we ended up bringing it back up because this is conveniently located right next to the Dow. It's underneath the 675 overpass or the Henry Marsh Bridge. The Convention and Visitors Bureau did all of the planning and organization for the project. They completed this Henry Marsh mural. It's much larger than this. I couldn't fit the whole picture on the screen, so drive down there for sure and take a look at it. They will also have a monument that will come later on before the Memorial Cup. The city partnered with the CVB to see what we could do to make the project a little bit more expansive and more transformational. Right next to the 675 overpass and across the street from the Dow is a road we call Symphony Lane. It dead ends right into the river, and through partnership with the CVB, we were able to actually get $1 million allocated from the Michigan Strategic Fund because of the Memorial Cup. That money would not have been necessarily available for this project or for the city of Saginaw if not for the Memorial Cup. So we are very grateful and trying to take most advantage of this. But this will be a place that we can fit either 4 to 5 food trucks, food truck alleyway. Obviously, this is not finished. I took these pictures a couple of weeks ago. We will have landscaping, lighting, pedestrian amenities. This is really going to be a place that is now going to be an event venue for Saginaw. This is open for food trucks to set up during different events. You just have to register with the city of Saginaw. Essentially, we're going to treat it the same way as we do a park. You can rent a park and have an event. You can now rent Symphony Lane and have an event as well. Or food trucks can just be there during other events happening in the general area. One other project that hasn't been completed around this is some lighting under the overpass. To really brighten that up, we're going to be encouraging parking all throughout Riverfront Saginaw, and one of those places is the really large parking lot at the Commerce Center, right on the other side where the CVB and Saginaw Future and the Chamber are located. And uplighting this and having all of these types of beautification around it is really going to make it more walkable. The Riverfront Gateway project is something that was actually designed by the Saginaw Riverfront Commission. They started planning for this project many years ago and developed a concept. They started fundraising, got about $38,000, and once the Memorial Cup was announced, City Council decided that this was a perfect legacy project because of its location along the river and its location in downtown. So this is the Iron Bell Trail and the Saginaw River Walk. I'm not sure if you knew that this is part of the Iron Bell Trail, quite a long trail that goes throughout Michigan. The circle is where this is located. It's right along the riverfront across from the SVRC Marketplace. If you haven't been here before, I don't blame you because it doesn't necessarily look very inviting or fun to hang out in. There's a lot of gates around, trash. I mean, it's just really not well utilized. I do see people fishing back here every so often, but it's really not at a point that we would want it to be readily used. So we are going to do a project that is inspired by this Tuscola alleyway, which is something that was done a few years ago. It's right next to the Dow Event Center garage. This is what that alleyway was transformed into. Much more inviting and beautiful, and just a space that you could see walking through, feeling safe, and maybe even sitting down for a little bit. That was really the inspiration behind this concept. So there's going to be seating, some coverage, lighting, and landscaping elements. And this should be completed before the Memorial Cup. Friends of Hoyt Park was selected by the Memorial Cup organization as another place for legacy projects. So if anybody is familiar with Larry Breathauer, he is the godfather of Hoyt Park. And he has had a whole list of projects for many, many years and asked for help and wanted to get things done. Well, fortunately, because he did a lot of planning for the last few years, and has been getting people on board. When the Memorial Cup came, again, we had extra resources available in Saginaw, and we're making a lot of this project happen. So listed up here are quite a few different things. There's going to be new playground equipment. They're updating a lot of their lighting and their facilities, their bathrooms. There's some groundwork to make it more ADA accessible. They're also upgrading things in their baseball stadiums, diamonds, and this will be long-lasting as well to help them be able to have larger events. The city of Saginaw, to add to this, was able to allocate $280,000 in ARPA, and we're also going to be refinishing the lower drive in Hoyt Park. A lot of what the city already does is some of the things up here, but we formed a committee early on when the Memorial Cup was announced of internal staff, including fire department, police, inspections, streets, public services, engineering, and a bunch of representatives from this panel actually as well, with Keisha over here, and some other city staff, to look at the area, think about where people would be meandering, where would they travel to different places, and make sure that those areas are cleaned up and ready to go. We were planning some road work in the area, extra cleanups. That is one thing that could be very helpful for nonprofits. If you are looking for extra volunteer hours, we will have a few cleanups. I know there's a lot of organizations doing cleanups this spring. And so we will definitely need your help with all of that. One kind of fun activity that was brought up to me from Rich Spitzer and Paul Barrera was a hare hunt. So this was another project that was kind of put on a shelf. They actually originally thought of this idea for a soccer tournament that came to Saginaw back in 2012. So the hare hunt is essentially, we are going to have the bunnies that normally sit out on the courthouse yard in the spring spread throughout mainly the city of Saginaw, but we will have a couple other locations, likely one in Frankenmuth and one maybe at Haithco Park is what we were thinking, and then one at the Fredericks Marshall Museum at SVSU. Besides that, we've already got approval from the Art Museum, the Temple Theater, the Saginaw Zoo, Hoyt Park. Obviously, the Dow Event Center is going to need one, and then a couple other places within the city. We are looking for sponsorships. I do have some handouts for sponsorships if anybody is interested. I'm not sure that that's necessarily a nonprofit's interest in sponsoring a bunny, but we would love to have you. These are meant to pull people, not just our visitors, but also our residents, into different places that are jewels of our city. I mean, if you've never been to the Japanese Cultural Center, you need to go. And when we have a bunny there and during this event, please go. And then we'll have you enter into this competition and we'll have some really neat prizes. During the event, we're going to have some drawings for tickets for things that are going on around town. And then at the very end, we will have a couple drawings of gift baskets and then some other big prizes that have not been secured yet. So this is pretty unusual, but it will be a fun thing for you to look out for. In addition, we are doing some other things that maybe aren't necessarily as fun, but we are providing a lot of services for the Memorial Cup during it to help make sure that it's running smoothly and that everything is safe for everybody in the area. We do have, and Keisha will talk about it later, an extra event that's going to be going on for the first part of Memorial Cup at the SVRC Marketplace, and we'll be putting up some additional signage. One thing I wanted to bring up as well is the fairgrounds demo. I know a lot of people have been interested in that if you've followed around in with the ARPA funding at all, or if you live anywhere in that neighborhood. That was approved back earlier last year, actually, in 2022. It is set to be demoed this year. That will be done by May 24th. surprise, the same day the Memorial Cup starts. So that was done on accident, I think. Just kidding. So that'll be done and cleaned up, and we're having more cleanups around that site as well, so that the gateways, which is East Genesee, one of our major gateways into the city, looks its best and is ready for our visitors. Lastly, this project has nothing to do with the city, but I think it's a very cool project. It's a private project led by Mark Flegenheimer and Larry Preston. This mural, which right now this is not a mural, they have just put up the primary colors. They will be bringing in a muralist in the spring to complete a beautiful landscape. This mural is going to be the second largest in the United States. We got beat by Cleveland, Ohio. Somehow we're gonna have to figure out if we can add a few more silos or something to this. But it's going to be gorgeous. It's just one more thing that's going to point out that Saginaw is cool. Look at the cool things we have and come back. So that is all I have. If anybody has any questions, I'll be on the panel later. So do you wanna ask me something right now or? Where is this? This is in Old Town. Yep. This is Old Town. You can pretty much see it from most of the bridges, it seems like, when you're crossing over. Yep. All right. Well, I think next we have stars.
Hello, I'm Glenn Steffens. I'm a director with Saginaw Transit Authority, or STARS. We run the local bus system, and if I haven't met you before, hello. I'm also here with Jamie Forbes, and I'm guessing everybody in the room probably knows Jamie Forbes. Really quickly, I'm just going to go over our services existing, so you have a baseline to go with when we describe what we're doing differently for the Memorial Cup. So I'm going to quickly go through our mainline routes. We do operate 10 routes in the city and that do touch the surrounding townships. Ahead you see Route 1. On the far right side of the screen is the Stars Plaza. And that goes all the way down State Street, Davenport, a bit of Genesee as well. Loops around over by Walmart. Now, we just modified that route. It goes by Health Source and the Juvenile Center, Juvenile Court as well, and back through. So that's Route 1. It's a very heavily trafficked route. You all know the State Street corridor. There's a lot of businesses along that, a lot of job opportunity, and also a lot of residences off of that as well. Route 2 on the east side. This is a heavily residential route. So this really, other than I think Jane Street Clinic is on this route, other than that, we're really talking neighborhoods and residential population moving around. And that's again the northeast side. Route 3, this is, historically Route 3 was just up and down Michigan. We recently changed that along with our Route 11 that we'll get to, but Route 3 goes down Michigan and loops back up and around Brockway, goes around the Adams Boulevard area and back in Mason Woodbridge over to downtown, which is at the top right corner of the screen there. Route 4, another heavily residential on the east side route. This route we did just recently expand to cover next year as well, but again, heavily focused on residential areas. It does hit a bit of Genesee. Our Route 5, harder to see because it's yellow, but the top of the screen, that's the Stars Plaza at the beginning of the line, and at the very bottom, the Kroger Bridgeport, which we recently expanded the Route 5 to access. Again, focusing on the need of groceries for residents and something on the east side that's quicker. Before Route 5 went all the way down to Kroger Bridgeport, the only grocery stores really that you could go to in our system were all really on the west side. You had Kroger on State Street, Walmart, Meijer over by Tittabawassee, et cetera. Route 6, that goes out Weiss from the downtown station and up and down Bay, and it loops around at the top there around Walmart and Meijer. Bay corridor, again, lots of businesses, lots of employers, lots of opportunity as well there. Route 7, this is our Washington Avenue route, up and down, and it does hit a couple little areas, those little carve-outs of the city if you ever look at a map with these weird little tips of the city out. So that one's covering that on the east side along the river. Route 8, our Jefferson, Sheridan, Hess route on the east side. And our Route 9, that goes out the highway, gets off the highway over at Tittabawassee, loops around the medical areas there, Applebee's. For some reason, Applebee's, I swear, is one of our hottest stops, and if we ever play with Applebee's, I get it from people. We know never ever to touch the Applebee's stop, but it loops through Applebee's, it goes up around Walmart and Sam's Club, and that square kind of shape at the top, that's SVSU, that's the loop around SVSU, so our Route 9 services that as well. Route 11 is basically the opposite of the Route 3. It comes back in on Michigan instead of out Michigan. So it goes out along, I always mix the two up as far as which one goes which way, but Mason Woodbridge around Adams Boulevard. The difference with this Route 11 compared to the Route 3 is this one does go out to Gratiot and Center, and we had a lot of residents ask for access to that. So that's 10 total fixed routes. Here's the map all put together. So, you know, if I impose the city border over this, you'd see that Route 1, Route 5, and Route 6, and Route 9, Route 2, and Route 4 all leave the city limits. They are touching the townships as well. And I should also mention that our paratransit or lift service, as we know it in town here, that services along all of our routes, all of our bus stops. If we have a fixed route bus stop, within 3/4 of a mile of that bus stop, we do need to make sure that we're servicing anybody who's disabled, and Lyft also covers seniors over 60 in Saginaw County. And a Lyft is a $2 fare. I should mention that fixed route is $1 fare. A fixed route is 50 cents if you're senior or disabled. So our hours, on the left side you see our regular hours. This is what we're currently running. Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. This is based on later expansions that we've had since we brought it back after the pandemic. Pandemic really kneecapped us, and if you ride the bus or know somebody that does, you'll know that our hours were very limited, and we actually had to pull back Saturdays for a while. So we're very proud to have that back up. But looking at these times and looking at the nature of this event, 9 p.m. doesn't really work as a cutoff time on the weeknights. The game isn't ending even by then. Well, if you live in the city and you don't want to park down at the Dow, if you don't have a car to get down there, you're ruled out at participating in these events unless transit's running. So it's very important to us at STARS that the city residents, not just the visitors, but our city residents have access to this very thing that's happening in our backyard and take a bit of pride and get to enjoy it. So Monday through Friday, instead of 5 a.m. to 9 p.m., STARS is going to hold our routes open 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. This should allow people to leave the game at the Dow, jump on a bus 1 block away at our plaza, not even have to connect to another route, and they should take them right home, and they'll be home by 11. Saturdays, 6 p.m. is definitely not going to cut it. We know that. So let's open that up until 11 p.m. as well. Sundays, we are not currently open at all. We understand there's going to be services involved during the event. There's going to be, you know, again, games happening. There's still stuff happening. We've got to get those buses running. So Sundays, we're going to run 9 a.m. to 11 p.m.
And no fares.
I was getting to that. I wasn't there yet. I know I forgot on Tuesday, but, and no fares. During the duration of the event, STARS is going to provide all of our normal fixed route services for free. We want to make it as easy as... We want to make it as easy as possible for these visitors in town to attend the events, but also for our local residents to attend. There are a lot of people in the city who don't ride the bus currently, and if a lot of times it's just a matter of making it easier so somebody takes that extra step and, hey, this isn't such a big deal. Again, you know, we're going to be running this Riverfront Loop, 11 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. There will be 2 shuttles on that. That will mean a 15-minute service. The Riverfront Loop is thankfully part of this whole plan, and really that's because of the Saginaw DDA. Hats off to them for supporting this. That was a $27,000 investment to keep this running for 10 days, 11 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. That's a lot of driver hours. That's a lot of fuel and some wear and tear on the vehicle. So we're really happy to see this. Our normal routes run every 60 minutes, right? If we only run routes every 60 minutes and we've got people in Old Town or something and suddenly a surge of hundreds of people are trying to get back to the Dow, we need to make sure we can move it. So having 15-minute service means that just on, you know, 1 shuttle alone that we can transport, you know, I'm not going to do the math, but we'll be able to transport hundreds of people within a short period of time, and that it's ongoing. It helps spread out that cluster of people moving through the system all at once. So Riverfront Loop, I think, is a key to this, and that 15-minute service is really what drives it home. So I can walk out of the Dow, jump on this quick shuttle, grab a sandwich in Old Town, jump back on the shuttle, and get back in time for the game. After the game's over, I can jump on the shuttle and head on to downtown or Hoyt Park or whatever else might be going on, check it out. And this thing's gonna run until 2:30 a.m. Now, keeping in mind, the rest of the routes will close at 11 on these nights, but this will continue to run until 2:30 a.m. Additionally, the Stars is going to have a hotel shuttle. We're still working out the details on that exactly, but we'd like to have something that's going from the Dow and connecting that riverfront loop as well after the routes close at 11, because some people are going to need to get back to these hotels as well. And if they're out, hey, you know, let's keep them out. They're just spending more money in our city, right? So that's fantastic. We have this other one that would connect then over to the hotel. We would run that at certain key times that would make sense based on where people are moving and how many are moving. So again, we're still working out the details on that, but we're committed to running that as well. So this is our opportunity at Stars, and we're really grateful for it, to kind of show what we can do. If you followed us over the past 6, 7 years, it's been a heck of a journey. When I started at Stars, we had buses with holes in the floors. We did not have a sufficient fleet to keep services running. We closed by 7:40 p.m. We weren't open Saturdays. The system was extremely limited, and it wasn't something that I think that many in the city could take a lot of pride in. I think that has changed, and if you see outside today, the buses that are driving around, the drivers with the smiles on their faces, and the passengers getting what they need and seeing these expanded opportunities, job lines into different areas that we've never touched before. It's 26 weeks of weekend shuttles in Frankenmuth. We're showing what we can do. The Memorial Cup will put us to the test, and we want to show what transit in Saginaw can really look like. Speaking of transformation, you know, these changes to the system, they do cost a lot of money, and in the end of the day, this is probably around $100,000 to $120,000 project for Stars. We won't be able to necessarily hold it open after, but our hope is that everybody sees the value of this, and afterwards, we get the support to argue for the funding to continue providing services like that, to show this is what Saginaw can really do if we have proper infrastructure, and Stars is part of that infrastructure that currently is not up to snuff, but we're getting there. The fleet that we have and the buses that we're going to be running, it's going to leave a positive impression, I think, with visitors. We want to do this right. We want to take no half measures. And we want to support all of you while we're doing it, as Jimmy mentioned earlier. If there's anything that we can help you out with during this event, please let us know. And even hopefully this knowledge that you have of our services and what they are might be able to help you out with some things, knowing that volunteers can hop on the bus and get transported around town for free during these 10 days. That other resources you have that otherwise you might have had to spend money on transportation, we've got your back. You contact me or Jamie and we'll make sure we get you guys the information. Now, are we going to be able to run extra shuttles and extra things for other groups? We're going to be pushed to the absolute brink, so likely not, but make use of what we are doing. And then I have an ask of you, which is to help us spread the word in this community about this. One thing I've learned in Saginaw is that getting information out in the city is extremely difficult, and getting community members to understand the services and everything provided, it's like pulling teeth. We could staple route changes to people's foreheads, and still 3 years later, they're going to call us and say, I didn't know you ran Saturdays. So you guys are in touch with many in this community and many who use resources or need them like this, and you're people that individuals in this community go to for guidance and support and resources. So please note what these things are available. Please help us drive this. Please help us convince businesses and other locals to be open during this week. We don't want to be running a shuttle around that we're dropping all this money on and have every restaurant closed or only one sandwich shop open or nowhere to grab a beer in the middle of the day before the game. Note that we're running these things from 11 a.m. until 2:30 a.m. The game doesn't even start until later in the evening. The events at the Dow don't start until 3. This gives a good 3 hours opportunity for pure Saginaw City, downtown, Old Town interaction when nothing is going on anywhere else. That was a deliberate decision on our part. We could have decided to run this thing only at 3 o'clock. DDA could have funded it only at 3 o'clock. there was the foresight to say, let's see how much we can capture for the city. This is not going to be handed to us on a silver platter. We're going to have to work to earn this type of commerce and activity. So thank you very much. I hope we have your support on this, and you certainly have our support from STARS.
Does the website have a link that we could put in newsletters that people could click on that and get all the routes? You've got 11 routes, so they could kind of, we're always having trouble getting kids to get to our Garber courts for tennis and pickleball lessons. And if we could say, go to this route, there is a route that you can use to get to us.
Our website does have a page for routes, but as the event nears too, we're probably going to be thinking about other ways to put that in that's more intuitive for especially visitors that don't know the city too.
Sure.
Absolutely. And you know, fingers crossed, we might have by then, we've been developing it for about 2 years, so might. But we've been working on a phone app as well, and we've been talking about trying to have like an itinerary where you could just put in where you are, kind of like a Google Maps, if you will, but for our bus routes. So it'd say, you know, walk 50 feet to this bus stop, pick it up here, go transfer down at the station. So a visitor who doesn't know the city at all could make their way around. That's a goal we have. I don't know that we'll make it, but we're going to try.
Okay.
Will y'all have any advertising on the bus or anything, and providing, do you allow any advertising on the bus as far as?
My intent is to try to get some, you know, we haven't had conversations about anything, and I don't necessarily want to call anybody out or commit to anything, but our eye is on doing something cool and relative to the event, possibly in support of the spirit itself as well, and certainly in recognition of the DDA's funding of that riverfront loop too. So we want something that's unique and it stands out and it's clear that it's different than the normal bus routes.
Okay.
You know, like if you've ever been to, say, Nashville and you walk up and there's like the blue line that goes by every 10 minutes, but then they've got the regular buses.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a cast here of professionals. I do want to start out with Tim, though. Would go great, because I think we've talked in and around about exposure, advertisement, marketing, all these different things for the nonprofits. And I think, and I know what we've done would go great, and Tim can better elaborate on how you could provide information that we can use to help you and so on. So, Tim?
Thanks, Jimmy. And I want to thank Glenn and Jamie, and I would even say Cassie. If you're ever looking for a job, we'll put you to work, because you'd be great in the convention and visitors world. So, my name is Tim Shelton, as Jimmy said. I'm the Director of Sports for Great Lakes Bay. You've heard referred to as CVB, Convention and Visitors Bureau. That's who we are. We are a destination marketing organization. So we market Bay, Midland, and Saginaw counties for all types of tourism, whether it's general tourists, you know, families, couples that come visit us, sports tourism, which is my wheelhouse. I work with lots of facilities and helping them bid and bring in large events and tournaments. We have meetings and conferences, tourism, motor coach tourism, all kinds of tourism. So, you know, essentially, we're selling our region for tourism. Our funding comes from, you know, we offer all of our services complimentary. And the way we do that, the reason we can do that is our funding is, it comes from an assessment, a 5% assessment on the guest room, hotel guest room stays. So that all of our out-of-town visitors will pay a 5% assessment on their room tax, and we use that to market the region. You know, as it's been said before, we're expecting thousands of visitors, Canadian visitors, and visitors from throughout the United States, right here in the Midwest and Michigan as well. We're expecting well over close to 8,000 hotel guest rooms to be used throughout that 8 to 10 day time frame. But our role with the Memorial Cup, you know, we initially, although Dick Garber and Craig Goslin have had a dream of hosting the Memorial Cup for many years, it was a year ago in October when they started talking seriously about we want to go after this. And so in December of last year, we assisted in the bid proposal that was sent to the CHL for consideration on hosting the Memorial Cup. It was a 6-week project, started in mid-December, and we turned that in late January. It was rather considerable, 160-page book that we turned in, very impressive. And it wasn't just us, it was many people that contributed to that presentation. In February, the CHL had whittled down the possible locations to 4 locations, and Saginaw was one of those 4. Niagara in Canada, Sault Ste. Marie, Canada, and Kingston. So there were 4, it was down to the final 4. So our next step with the Saginaw Spirit was to host and help with the actual live presentation to the selection committee, the Memorial Cup Selection Committee, and that took place in February. And so basically we helped with the sales process early on with that. And this all culminated with a press conference in March where we heard Dick Garber, I say this all the time, Craig Goslin say, Saginaw, we did it. So we found out that the bid was won in March. So since then, our roles have changed a little bit, and moving forward, we see ourselves as supporting the Saginaw Spirit and the Memorial Cup local organizing committee on various aspects of the 10-day event. We consider ourselves the Minutemen. We're sort of on hand, all hands on deck, on call for whatever the local event manager and the host organizing committee, Jimmy Green and those folks, whatever they need, we're working behind the scenes on that. One thing we are working on right now is creating day trip opportunities for the visitors to get them out and about in the Go Great Lakes Bay region. We'll have them in Midland and Bay and Saginaw and Frankenmuth with different opportunities for the visitors and even local residents. But overall, our overall focus is the visitor experience, connecting the thousands of out-of-towners with the information they need before and during the event to ensure they have a comfortable visit and a wonderful experience in the Great Lakes Bay region. And then, of course, while they're here, they'll see firsthand as to why they want to come back and visit another time. On the screen right now, we just launched, this is the Memorial Cup visitor page. This page will be linked from several different hockey sites right now on the CHL, Canadian Hockey League website, which is chl.ca. There's a tile ad there to the right. It says, plan your visit to the 2024 Memorial Cup in Saginaw. And it will take you to this page. And if you just slowly scroll down, we're still building that. The first year, you can see where you can get your tickets. The very nice blog piece here below that. And then down below, if you'll just sort of hesitate a little bit, here the visitors will start seeing information about what's going on during the event. Again, there's a ticket link here. Experience Saginaw, Feel the Spirit Rising. That is a television show that's being produced. There's already 3 episodes online. You can see them on YouTube. TSN, WNEM is broadcasting them. And the Saginaw Spirit is, I think someone mentioned, for football fans out there, there's a television show called Hard Knocks that's produced every year, and it follows one of the football teams through the whole season, sort of a behind the scenes. Well, Spirit Rising, we worked with the Canadian Hockey League to put this together, and it's the Saginaw Spirit's road to the Memorial Cup. If you'll go down a little bit further, just more examples of what we're doing to help the visitor experience. We have, the Eat and Drink page, festivals and events, places to stay. Festivals and events, this is a place where we can use your help. Our partner base is hotels, attractions, festivals and events, sporting facilities. If you're not listed on our page, you need to be listed on our page, and we can give you access to put your own events on this page. And we will highlight those events, particularly during the Memorial Cup. It will really make this site very vibrant. If you'll go down a little bit more, some more things to do, finding adventures, explore how to find our Go Great Lakes Bay visitor guide, sign up for our newsletter, and then if you'll go down a little bit further, things to do in the Saginaw, top things to do, on down a little bit. These are just examples, how to spend a weekend, how to spend a weekend with kids, a first-timer's guide, and then if you go to the bottom, you'll start to see the Spirit Rising episodes. The first 3 episodes have already been completed, they've been aired. If you want to get fired up or point somebody to these shows, this will fire you up for the Memorial Cup. Now, we will continue to build out the information on this. As the Memorial Cup Committee starts building their events and concerts are announced, there's a concert almost every night of the week, and then there will be a headliner concert on Saturday night. We will have all of that on our website as the details are provided. What else? Some of the other events surrounding the event is the arrival of the Cup. That's a huge deal. We are going to have the Cup brought over. It will be coming from Canada, obviously. It will be, there will be a convoy of military vehicles, I believe, Jimmy, I don't know, it's all been planned out, that will bring the Cup into downtown Saginaw, and essentially it's a parade bringing the Cup into downtown Saginaw. So that's one of the events. There's a Hockey Hall of Fame, and Jimmy referenced the Fan Fest. If you've ever been to a large sporting event like Super Bowl or NCAA basketball Final Four, there's always that Fan Fest element. So we'll help promote all of that. And then, of course, we hope that we'll have a victory parade on the week of June 3rd sometime. So I won't say that in the presence of the coach, Saginaw Spirit. They don't want to hear that right now. So again, this page will be linked from many different sites. It already is linked from many different sites, and we'll continue to build that out. Some things we'll be adding, Glenn and Jamie, we will have the transportation opportunities on there. We're looking at possibly bringing some Uber drivers into the area for that time frame. We're still working on that. Working on the possibility of bicycle rickshaws in downtown Saginaw for the event. Lots of neat things that we really want to kick it up a little bit for the area. And then currency exchange. We're working on opportunities for our out-of-country visitors to be able to exchange their currency. So with that said, I think that's a little bit of everything, or a little bit of what all we are doing. I'll be here after the meeting if you have any questions. We certainly want to promote your businesses on our site, and we will continue to work hard for Jimmy and his team as things transpire. So, thanks.
Well, thank you, Tim. And again, there are so many moving pieces to this, and a lot of what we're doing, quite frankly, is almost in pencil. We were a little reluctant to put ink to anything because we keep getting so many ideas, and that's why we're having these forums. I can't tell you, it seems like every time I do a presentation or every time I talk to a group, there's that, oh, that's right moment. So we don't want to shut anybody out. We don't want anybody to believe that they're shut out right now. We're so open. We're like sponges right now. There is no template. Like, nobody's ever done this before. And I have to tell you, in the 109 history of the Memorial Cup, this is the first time it's ever been done east of the Mississippi. Only twice before that, and that was on the West Coast, in Seattle and Spokane. 3 times with Portland. So 4 times, this is only the 4th time in 109 years. So you can imagine the kind of pressure that we have. That we have to get it right. And I always feel like it's because the Canadians want us to get it wrong so they could keep it back over the border. But they're going to be disappointed because we're going to put on one heck of a template. We're going to raise the bar, no question about it. So I want to turn it over to Keisha. She could talk a little bit about what her agency is doing and how that might apply to our nonprofits.
Thank you. Greetings, everyone. My name is Keisha Smith, and I am the coordinator for the City of Saginaw, the Saginaw Economic Development Corporation. And what we do is we provide commercial lending to small businesses located in the City of Saginaw, and we will be highlighting our micro lending program for the Memorial Cup. We will have a special program going on for the Memorial Cup, where small businesses have the opportunity to borrow up to $5,000 for inventory and equipment. Getting geared up for the Memorial Cup. We want to be ready for the Memorial Cup. We don't want to run out of our product or service on the first or the second day even. So we want to help those small businesses and give you that extra boost that you may need. So I know we're working with our meeting tonight is on organizations, and we work with for-profits. But we want to say, if you know anyone or you have a connection with any small businesses or entrepreneurs, for-profits, please let them know that we have this program going on geared toward the Memorial Cup. So please pass on that information, as well as we will have an event that Cassie briefly spoke of. It's going to be mimicked to like our Small Business Expo. We had our 10-year Small Business Expo this year, and we had Water Street closed. We had food trucks all along Water Street. We had live entertainment. We had a kids area. So it was a great turnout. So we decided to mimic the event for the Memorial Cup. It's going to run 7 days through the Memorial Cup, starting on Memorial Day through the week. So it'll be a 7-day event. If you know anybody, everything will roll out in January as far as registration and getting ready for this particular event. But we're excited. We're looking to support the small businesses. And if you have anyone that you know that need our resources, please pass on the information.
Fantastic, thank you. And again, hold your questions, because we're going to have a Q&A at the end of this, so you can write them down. One of the things I wanted to mention, and STARS did not mention this, but there's, again, when I said pencil, so we're actually talking about a connection piece. They're working with, and I'm not speaking out of turn because Jamie's here, but they're actually talking with a connection piece out of Flint. So there's this connection piece, because Flint is a huge hockey town, believe it or not, and I guess I'll go on record as saying I don't think they're going to win the Memorial Cup. So, but their hockey fans will want to watch hockey. But there will be a connection point, and for you Bridgeport people, going right to Birch Run and then picking up from Birch Run, bringing folks here too. So again, and I used this analogy last time, I'm going to use it again. This is really representative of the fact that when we had holidays, everybody was told, what? Clean your rooms up, company's coming. Right? And then after you cleaned your room up and company left, you know, mama or daddy or grandma or somebody said, how come you can't keep your damn room clean all the time? So I think it's really a lesson for us. I truly believe that, you know, some of the things we're doing right now, when I said transformative, so there will be that point when they're gone where we all look back and go, okay, so why aren't we still doing that? Because we've shown the capacity to do it. And of course, many of us could sit back and say, well, why haven't we before? That's past day. The fact is, it's an excuse for us to do the right things at the right time for the right people. And it's going to be tough after they're gone to say, well, that was for them and not for us. So I think you can kind of get the gist of this, what we're talking about here. And I'm going to be one of those people saying, how come we're not doing it again? So now I want to turn it over to our small business folks from Saginaw Valley.
Yes, so my name is Carly Robinson. I am one of the small business consultants with the Michigan Small Business Development Center. Our job is to support startups and existing businesses with under 500 employees with no-cost management consulting. And so as we go into the Memorial Cup, one of the things that is very important, oftentimes our small businesses are thinking about, well, I just need the money to get going. Another failure point is when they cannot handle the influx of new customers. This is the time that those businesses need to be getting prepared and upping their game, ready for this influx of customers. And we are standing by, ready to help them with that. Whether that is marketing, getting their finances together so that they can get ready for an SEDC microloan, for inventory, we will work hand in hand. My region covers 15 counties, so of course Bay, Aranac, Midland counties, Saginaw as well, but we cover all the way up to the Mackinac Bridge, the whole east side. But I am part of a larger network that covers the whole state. So whatever that question is, whatever size that business is, whatever they think their hiccup may or may not be, we have experts standing by waiting to help them kind of walk through that. We also have full confidentiality, so if you know anybody who's like, well, I don't want to ask for help, we're not going to tell anybody you came to see me, but we're going to get your business ready to go. So that if we need to get paperwork ready so that we can apply for an SCDC loan, or maybe even something bigger than $5,000, we will help them put that paperwork together. We can help them put those pro formas together, all of those financials, business plans. Those are the things we can do. My background is in online presence management and website building. I can't build a website for somebody, but we want to make sure that those websites are looking good for, off links from Go Great Lakes, other areas of the business. And so our organization doesn't necessarily help with nonprofits specifically, but we know that you are in touch with people in the community. Help us spread the word so that these folks can be up and ready for Memorial Cup and for the future as well.
Perfect, thank you. So Cassie thinks I forgot about her, but I didn't. I purposely am leaving her for last, because what I really want for everybody to do is kind of talk about what they've done as the host city here, what they've done and how this is all synergetic and how this is all going to tie in, and that's why I wanted you to go last, because I think it's important for you to understand that these are people convened because of the city of Saginaw and the role they've played. And I can tell you, the first thing that came out of our opportunity was, okay, so what's the city going to do to make this readily available? Tim Morales, Cassie, Phil Carwatt, these folks have been outstanding in terms of bringing and removing obstacles. I don't have to tell you because she kind of shared a little bit of it, but that's why that's so important for her to close this out when we're done listening to some of the other people and why they brought these folks together. So I didn't forget you because I want you to do that and why that's important, because this is all tied in, all tied in. So I'm going to turn it over to Steve at DDA. You've heard a lot about DDA, so he can give you a little bit of an overview on the role they've played in the Memorial Cup and will continue to play. So,
Sure.
Steve?
Yeah, thanks, Jimmy. My name is Steve Hensley, represent the DDA, so I also work for Saginaw Future. So the city contracts with Saginaw Future to administer the DDA. We staff the DDA. So the Saginaw DDA is the Downtown Development Authority. We're in a unique position, obviously located in the city, and the part we get to play here is the Dow Event Center is in the DDA, so we're really the host from the hyper-local municipality standpoint, which I think is pretty unique. There's a lot of advantage but responsibility that comes with that, and moving forward, we looked at it, the DDA board looked at it as a whole and said, how can we capture some of this opportunity in making sure that the property owners within the district, which is low-hanging fruit, access to the Dow Event Center. We want to make sure that if people are coming in to take in those hockey games, as Jimmy has alluded to, are able and readily to access the amenities around the arena within a mile or two or less potentially. So what we've done, and has been discussed, the DDA board agreed to allocate $27,000 to that STARS Transit. So we want to make it accessible. We want to make it easy, whether that's for locals or people coming in to the Dow Event Center over the border. They can come outside the event center, hop a bus, go around that loop, enjoy local food, drinks, those things that they're not going to get otherwise. And as far as countywide, right here in the DDA is where you get a lot of those unique food amenities and such. And so, but in addition to that is where it comes into the nonprofit realm and those quality of life amenities that maybe a lot of times locals take for granted, but for those in the area, maybe you come down early as discussed, have a bite to eat, a couple of drinks, you look at your watch, you still have time before the hockey game, you hop back on that loop, and you can take in the Castle Museum, the Children's Zoo, the Temple Art, or Temple and the Saginaw Art Museum, and so forth. So for those organizations and nonprofits, we want those to also be open and accessible. It all goes hand in hand with our for-profit and nonprofit friends. So with that said, we have a few access resources that is available throughout the year, but we believe complements what's going on with the Memorial Cup quite well. And I'll run through those very quickly. So the Facade Improvement Grant is a program that the DDA allocates money towards annually that goes to support whether you can be a business or a nonprofit that's looking to improve your facade, upgrades to that. There's an application process. There are applications on the table out there, and if you're interested, I'd be happy to answer more questions in detail about that. And then the special event sponsorship grant is also a grant that's focused on for our nonprofit friends. We know that there's going to be events happening in the district throughout this, special events that the Spirit are working closely with. But if your organization or association is interested in participating, hosting an event that might complement that well, I would encourage you to apply for a special event grant, and the DDA may be able to support that in some regard. And then lastly, Match on Main, that is a grant program that's run through the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. That's a placemaking grant, so for businesses that are looking to expand or grow, that adds to the vibrancy and vitality of a typical Main Street. We at the local level, the DDA, we administer that, and then we act as the applicant onto the state. So again, that's a $25,000 reimbursement grant. That's highly competitive, but if that were to coordinate with maybe something you're working on or your for-profit friends, feel free to share that as well. That covers my talking points, I think, but if anybody has any questions, my contact information's there. I'm happy to talk in more detail.
Great, thank you, Steve. Now, next to last will be Greg Lamar from Saginaw Future.
Yeah, Cassie, I'm not last.
No, she's closing this baby out.
Hi, everybody. My name's Greg Lamar. I'm with Saginaw Future Communications and Marketing Director. We're also here with Rachel Morneau from our team as well, who's been a big part of working on this tool that we're developing for the Memorial Cup. So Saginaw Future is an economic development organization for the city and the county of Saginaw. Basically, we try to help companies grow and expand and also attract new ones. We have a partnership with 7 other counties to do business attraction. We call it Great Lakes Bay Region 5. We do some other things too as well. But we received a grant from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation for a business attraction tool, which was a digital mapping platform. So we began utilizing this, and we thought, well, this could be a great tool for the Memorial Cup, where we could have a digital wayfinding map that would support the efforts of what we're all here to do today. So what it will be is it functions really well on your phone. We'll get to that in a second. But it's a digital wayfinding map utilizing GPS. There's restaurants and bars listed, retail and amenities. It includes links and social media and photos. So it will help those visitors get around the downtown, Old Town area to, best utilize tools to get around town. And we'll also be adding a Stars bus loop. Rachel was just texting me, we need to do that. So we certainly will. Have to shout out to the CVB because we utilized a lot of the work that they've already done. They had a great listing of all the different amenities. However, next slide, please. We still need your help. So if you would scan this barcode with your phone, and if you know of some amenities that should be listed on there, please contact us. List your organization if it's appropriate for tourism as well. Promote usage of this barcode. We're going to have more information out. We'll have flyers. We'll have social posts. We're planning some other things, maybe some decals, maybe a billboard showcasing the barcode or the business cards too. Please contact myself at Saginaw Future or Rachel. I have business cards out in the hallway too. So if you have any questions or any needs, please spread the word. If you see social media posts that are utilizing the digital wayfinding map, please share it and tag it. And I'm a City of Saginaw resident. I'm looking forward to this. This is an awesome opportunity, and that's why we're all here today. So this is exciting for Saginaw. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Last but not least, before we leave, I really do want to compliment Cassie, and that's why I went last, because We were at one point, we heard about the Memorial Cup, and I think Tim could probably allude to this as well, too. So there was a lot of talk about, the regional aspect of it. And sometimes that got a little bit lost, and people kind of like, whoa, wait a minute, it's Saginaw, we're the whole city. And it was imperative. And Cassie took really the bull by the horns and said, well, wait a minute. Saginaw's going to make sure that it can deliver services, that it is the whole city. And not that we don't support and encourage and welcome everybody in the region and beyond for that matter. But she shouldered the weight and the responsibility of saying, this is mine, and we're going to make sure that everybody, every resident, every organization, whether they're for-profit or nonprofit, was going to benefit from this Memorial Cup. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you so you could kind of tie that all in together, Cassie. So let's give her a round of applause first of all. So thank you.
Jimmy, you're embarrassing me.
I hope so.
Well, thank you. This has been, I've been with the city now for a year. I actually came from Saginaw Future, so it's been very easy for me to tie in a lot of the partners up here. But yeah, I was very fortunate. I was hired in at the city in November, and then by February? It was announced, and so Tim was like, oh, perfect. Cassie. I love my city. This is the best opportunity that could come. I'm so excited to be spearheading some of the things in the city. And like I said earlier, we have a whole internal committee, and we've been meeting and really trying to hammer out getting not only our city activities done and make sure that they are at the highest quality, but like Jimmy said, this is an opportunity for all of you. And really, the only way us as the city government benefit is for our organizations and businesses to benefit. So I just had a couple notes to share with you. I do have quite a bit of information out on the table for a few different things. If you are interested in having an event in any of our parks, I have a special event application out there. If you need any information about licensing, if you have any businesses within your guys' organizations, we do have, the city clerk actually made a nice little flyer here about the different licenses that businesses and food trucks and any kind of, what do they call them? Peddlers, transient merchants, there's names I really hadn't thought of that they called different types of dealers who go to vendors at these different activities. So if you're interested in any of that, we also have a comment card sitting on your seat. We have a box in the back. We will after this take questions, but if you want to write something down and talk about if it's something, personal or a situation that may not apply to other people, feel free to put that in the box and we'll have somebody reach out to you. I will be putting together a main takeaways, and I will email it to everybody who has signed up for RSVP'd, as well as anybody who has signed up. So we will include links and contacts and just the main points that we were trying to get across to you today. Just in case this is a lot of information, I know it's hard to digest. We've recorded both of these videos from Tuesday and today, so we'll be putting them together to release out on the city's YouTube page, and they will remain there. We'll likely be forwarding them out through Facebook and emails and other things to make sure you guys are all informed. And then we also have created an email within the city. It is it is memorialcupinfo@gmail.com, the same email that you emailed to register for this event. We are going to keep that up and going until the end of the Memorial Cup so that we have a touch point within the city. If you have questions or need more information, we may not always have it, but we should be able to find you the answer. Also be watching on our social media. We'll put out some other factoids. As Jimmy said, this is all really, I can imagine still in May, we're gonna have things changing around. So when we know things, we'll try to get it out to you as well as possible. And I know Tim mentioned a couple events that the CVB will be doing. There's gonna be quite a bit of information coming out from a bunch of different resources. So it's gonna be quite the time over the next, what do we have, 5 months left? Wow, it's flying by.
Some of you were at the perk breakfast today, and you got a chance to see the hockey players. All of them were out there and the team. You have to remember sometimes, and I think only when you see them, you realize These are 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. And we can only have a few over that, which we call overagers, believe it or not. When somebody's 20 years old, they're like an overager. It's an exciting team, it really is. But more importantly, and I wrote a couple notes down, as Cassie said about takeaways, it really is for us an opportunity to look at ourselves the way everybody else looked at us. I want that to sink in a little bit. They looked at us better than we sometimes look at ourselves. Like they didn't see our hiccups, they didn't see, our division, or they didn't see the river, they didn't see any of that stuff. They saw us all as a collective whole, and they said, that's a damn good place to be. I hope that when we're done with this, that most of us, a lot of us, I know people in this room do, but people outside the room think, damn, that's a really great place to be. And look at some of the things that we do. The event center is magnificent. I would encourage you to reach out to me if you want to bring groups in to see it, to come to a game, just reach out to me. All right, I'll take care of that part of it. That stays behind. That stays behind for concerts and the events that the Dow Event Center's had. It's gorgeous in there now. I also want to make sure you understand that I'm like Robin, and Batwoman is Kayla Piak, who's my partner, and she's under the weather this week, but she is outstanding, and I could not do this without her. I'm the hype guy, which is why I do this, but Kayla is magnificent. We call her the wedding planner on steroids, because she puts all this stuff together. You have no idea what it's like, the reservations, transport. It's crazy, and I couldn't do this without her. So since this is being recorded, I wanted to make sure people understood that the real jewel behind this, the real workhorse behind this is Kayla. So volunteer cards are out on the table. Please take those. Those are, if you don't take anything else, please take those, because that's how you could get your folks engaged. And down there at the Memorial Park, all those events are free. Even when the game starts, if people don't want to play hockey, they'll be broadcast on the game. If they want to stay at the Fan Fest, they'll still be broadcast. So that's a cool thing too. We got flyers out there. And again, I just want to leave you with this thought again before we take Q&As, that I think we've conveyed, all of us have, that hockey is just an excuse for us to do and be better. It's not just a hockey game. It's not. I think when you listen to all these folks here, it was just an opportunity, an excuse for us to be better and bigger and think more about ourselves on June 4th when they're all gone back home. We stay. So take questions. Anybody have any questions?
Mine was in retrospect to, like vendors.
Yep.
Far as location-wise, how do a vendor get in, figure out where can they be located, far as in reference to the Dow?
I'm gonna let Cassie take that, because that again goes back to the site. We will actually help pick out the vendors, the food trucks, for example, but they've created the sight line.
Okay.
Saginaw DDA, all of these folks here have had a contribution in that. Go Great. Everybody, it's the, I forgot what we call it, the alley. I forgot what we call it.
Food truck alley.
Food truck alley.
So, yeah, the Memorial Cup, during the Memorial Cup, that food truck alley and all food trucks within that Fan Fest will be handled by the Memorial Cup folks.
Right.
They haven't released that yet, so that'll be something that we'll have to send out later.
Yeah.
Keisha will also have an opportunity for vendors at the SVRC Marketplace during her week-long event.
That's gonna be
And that will
huge.
also come out after the new year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so stay tuned. Again, like I
Yep.
said, we're moving, lots of things are moving, so please stay tuned. Yes, sir.
Hi, we're here representing Bridgeport Township, and we are working on a 5K, 10K race to coincide with the Memorial Cup events.
Okay.
I think our target date is June 1st for that. It's a Saturday. Who would we get in touch with to kind of glom onto all of that?
The first thing I would do is make sure you talk with Tim. There's the event guy, that's the guru. He's the guy responsible for making sure that we know who, what, how, where, what time, all of those pieces of information. So make sure you get with Tim, so we don't have a clash somewhere.
Great, we'll talk to you after. Thank you.
Yep, you got it.
Yes, Jamie?
Hi. So I know there's going to be Fan Fest, there's going to be tons of events that are around the event itself. If there are events that are planned by other parties, maybe some in this room, what are the days and times that would be best so that they would not conflict? Is there any general timing that makes sense?
Hockey starts at 7:05. I mean that sincerely. Hockey starts at 7:05. We are open. We are certainly not, I mean, the Fan Fest, we imagine a lot of people will be down there. It's 10 days. But then some people be like, I want to do some other stuff too, on weekends in particular. I mean, in the mornings, and that again goes back to what Tim said earlier about you put it, the app will allow people to, or the site will allow people to say, here's what I'm interested in,
Yep.
and then it will start to populate events, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's correct. And I would mention, and I will follow up with you, Jamie, I believe the final game is on Sunday night, June 2nd.
It is.
Saturday is an off day for
Yep.
hockey.
That's the ticketed concert.
Now, that could change, that could possibly change if there's like a tiebreaker situation. But that Saturday would be probably a great opportunity
Yeah.
where folks won't be watching hockey. So, and we have that schedule, I don't wanna, make a mistake, but
Yeah.
we can check on that.
We have a bunch of NHL scouts that'll be here, the parents and stuff like, the CHL is the hottest property for, or that populates the NHL. Predominantly, most of these players come out of this division. So you'll have, I mean, a lot of people here, not just players and families, but a lot of scouts from the NHL. This is, I mean, it's just gonna be amazing. And some of those folks may not want to attend certain games. They will want entertainment value. Again, when you are in full access and present with a lot of these folks, it's an opportunity for you to be you, whoever you are. So that's one of the things we want to make sure that we made available. Yes, Mr.
Hurley
Coleman.
Thank you. Good evening. Hurley Coleman from Saginaw County Community Action. Absolutely thrilled about what's happening and what's going to happen for our region. Super transformative if we really take advantage of it. I wanted to ask a question in terms of community impact. When you think about the nonprofits that are in the room currently, that I see a lot of us leaders are here, a lot of professional organizations such as, the PGA, LPGA, Dow Invitational,
Right.
those type of events, when they come to our region, there's some type of a filter that gets nonprofits access
Yep.
and also a competitive grant process so that there's also ability to volunteer, but also get the word out. Is there anything set up like that for the Memorial Cup?
And that's exactly why you're here. No, really, I mean that sincerely. That's exactly why we set this up. Those things are in work right now, and that's what I mentioned earlier about, it will happen. I guarantee you it will happen. The how, the what, the where, those are the things that we're working through right now, but the reception has been amazing. All we're doing is tying it in. What we didn't want to do is get too far ahead of the game. It's December. It's December. Now, we didn't want to wait until May to have these conversations, but it's December. And so this gives us an opportunity to, again, tie up loose ends as we start moving from pencil to ink based on this kind of input. That's exactly what we're doing. So yes, there will be those opportunities, Hurley, I can guarantee you that. So I keep saying access. That word, please don't misunderstand that word. When I say access, I mean the same kind of access that a lot of other people have too. If there are economic challenges, we will address those. So we will make sure that the city of Saginaw's populace, and that's exactly what Cassie, why she set this whole thing up, will benefit and participate and have benefits from the Memorial Cup. Hi, Rhonda.
Hello. I'm wondering, it probably is a question for you, but for organizations, if we have organizations,
Yeah.
are you going to have something set up as to how maybe we could volunteer, or what are some of the other activities that we could do? Just like you're starting to wind up to get ready.
We
Some
need
of us are
500
winding down,
volunteers.
so-
I would love to have a Delta Sigma Theta Day with all that red hanging out there, broadcasting
We'll be
Delta
there.
Sigma Theta.
That's what I'm
And
trying.
and I promise you, if you take that card, I will have a Delta Sigma Theta Day for
Okay.
volunteers.
All right,
So
okay.
there you go.
All right, that's what I wanted to
I'll
know.
take that question.
Okay.
And we probably should mention if anyone asks you about volunteering, there is already a link
Yeah.
online. And the best way, we are going to get it on our website as well. It's not currently on our site, but if you go to chl.ca, CA for Canada, it'll bring you to the Canadian Hockey League website. And then if you go to the top events and find Memorial Cup, boom, right there is frequently asked questions, how to volunteer, how to get tickets. Our site links to that, but right now, that's where you can find, actually, it might be linked off of the Saginaw Spirit
It is,
page.
yeah.
So, the volunteer link is out there as
Yeah.
far as opportunities.
But, and absent of that, there you go, I was just gonna say, she's coming to me, so.
Yeah,
But, and feel free, seriously, that's why we're having these things. And again, I just want to thank Cassie Zimmerman and the city of Saginaw for making this possible. And I can tell you, you have a whole lot of ambassadors of information up here. So don't take that lightly. I can't think, I know some people are reluctant to ask certain questions, but again, when you think about your board members, and I know a lot of your board members are business owners in particular, it's imperative that you take that information out to them and let them know these resources are available. You know, that $5,000 inventory thing, I'm like, I didn't even know that till we started. I thought I knew everything until you start listening to what the resources are. And we're growing them and growing them and growing them. The routes, the same thing. So please stay tuned. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be transformative. And I think every single person in this room will have some benefit from it. So thank you. Have a good night. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, or whatever it is you celebrate.